Hello there. Welcome to my leather shop. My name is George Hurst. In this program, we will show how to make a top quality belt bag in the steampunk style with end gussets. Step one in the process of making the bag is to prepare a pattern. Now I like to use plastic tracing film, as you see I have here, and I will use my straight edge to trace all of the lines of my pattern onto the tracing film. Whenever I can, of course, I use a straight edge, and there's some little tick marks here. We'll need to make sure we get those. And I know what kind of a clasp I'm going to use, so I will mark the places where I will punch a hole for our clasp. And of course I need to mark the position of our belt loop. And of course we will also trace the patterns for our gussets and for the belt loop. And of course the rounded portions we will trace very carefully. I will cut the main part of the bag out of some high quality 6 to 7 ounce vegetable tanned leather. So the first thing I'll do is lay my pattern down and decide the area that it's going to take. So then I will take a sponge and we'll dampen that area just on the surface. Make sure you get it on evenly and just on the surface. Now we'll wait a few seconds for this to soak in, and then we can trace our pattern. I have a straight edge already on the leather along this side, so I can line up my pattern right on the straight edge, and then with a stylus I will first trace the corners, which are rounded, as you can see. I will mark all of the places I'm going to punch holes. I'll also mark along the edge here where we had the little V-cut. These are guidelines that we'll use later when putting the gussets in place. I will also mark with a dot the areas for the position of the belt loop. And now I will use a straight edge to draw most of these other lines. And then we will cut the other parts the same way from some 3 to 4 ounce. With a good sharp knife, we can cut our parts. And I will carefully now round the corners of the flap part. Next, I will punch some 1/8 inch holes that will be used for our clasp that we're going to use on this bag. At this time, we'll be doing nothing to the points where our belt loop will be attached. Since our gussets and the belt loop are the same width, I have cut a strip 2¼ inches wide to make those parts. And so I'll just dampen it as we did before, and then give it a few minutes to penetrate. And now I will bring in my tracing film, and in this case I will only need to trace the rounded bottom of the gusset. Since we'll be making 2 of these, I will move it down. Use my straight edge to trace the top part. And I will again carefully trace the rounded part of the gusset. And now I will do the same thing with my belt loop. It's just a matter of positioning it. In this case, I can just mark it, and then we'll cut it off with our straight edge and our knife. For the gussets, we will cut the straight part, and now the rounded parts I like to cut with the shears. And now we will do this to the other gusset. The next thing we'll do is prepare our gussets, and to do that we will dampen them quite thoroughly. And we'll dampen them in both the front and the back side. We'll need this to be rather wet all the way through. We'll do this to both gussets, and then we'll set them aside for a few moments to allow the water to soak in. As you dampen these, keep in mind that the water will penetrate a lot faster from the back than it does from the front. So we want them damp all the way through, but not soggy. While we're waiting for our water to soak in, we'll need to set our wing divider to about 3/8 of an inch wide. Or I should say exactly 3/8 of an inch wide. After we have allowed our leathers to set up for a while, we'll take the wing divider and we'll put a deep ridge, as you can see, 3/8 of an inch in from the edge, and go over that several times. Get a good deep impression. And then if you want, you can take the tracing stylus and deepen the line that's on the curve. Next, we'll take our skiving tool, and along the bottom where we have the curve, we will thin that down quite a bit. It's only necessary to do it in the area where we have the curve, not needed along the sides. Next we will shape these gussets, and I will lay my straight edge, as you can see, along the one edge where I made the impression with the wing dividers, and then I will, with my modeling tool, I will fold this up to right at about a 90-degree angle, and we'll do the same thing then on the other side down to where the curve starts. And now we will need to fold up the curved part. Now, this works best if we use in this case I'm using the cap from a bottle of finish, and we will fold this up against that cap. Now once we get it started, then we'll come back with our fingers and we will squeeze and put tiny little folds with the end of our fingers, as you can see. It may be necessary to come back and do this several times until we get that end shaped at about 90 degrees, just like we did the sides. And then we'll let this dry in this position.